And now, later than billed here on Jackpot Button Lewis 2, as we now head to the beautiful and scenic Spa-Francorchamps circuit in Belgium for round 11 of the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as we have extended highlights of the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix. Introduced by Jack Wright with live race commentary from Murray Walker in Grand Prix Formula 1. And welcome to the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps circuit here in Belgium for the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix. This is without a doubt the best road track in the world. It has everything. 4.3 miles long, straights, fast open corners, a tightly named bus stop chicane, and the legendary daunting Eau Rouge. The scenery is just as spectacular, and there are a load of good vantage points from around the circuit. Spa is a real favourite circuit for Germany's Michael Schumacher. He won here last year in 1994, but only to be sadly disqualified due to the excessive wear on his wooden skid block underneath his Benetton Ford car. Thus, the victory was then awarded to his championship rival of Britain's Damon Hill in his Williams Renault. With once again the flying Finn of Mika Hakkinen in second, his McLaren Peugeot, and Schumacher's Dutch teammate of Jos Verstappen finishing in third place. But despite happening, this is the circuit where Michael Schumacher made his debut back in 1991, driving in a Ford-powered Jordan car, and also where he took his first Grand Prix victory a year later in 1991, driving a Ford-powered Benetton car. And last time out at the Hungaroring in Budapest, Hungary for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Britain's Damon Hill in his Renault-powered Williams took his second race victory of this year's championship after finishing out on the points in the last few races. With a formidable second place for the Frenchman of Olivier Panis, with the first podium finish for Ligier Mugen Honda after previously from last year when he was last on the podium at the German Grand Prix of 1994. With Britain's Mark Blundell in his McLaren Mercedes taking to the podium for the fifth time this season, coming once again in third place. But it was a disastrous race weekend to forget for the Ferrari team. After receiving multiple warnings and causing avoidable collisions with most of the field, both drivers of Frenchman John Alesi and Austrian Gerhard Berger inevitably both faced the black flag and were both disqualified from the overall race classification after Damon Hill's victory. And in a very heated post-race press conference, the president of the FIA, Max Mosley, made it clear, as he was outraged by both drivers with both their unsportsmanlike behaviour driving style. After receiving a warning previously at the German Grand Prix, Berger has been both fined and he will not take part in this weekend's Belgian Grand Prix. While his French teammate Jean Alesi has also been fined and he's also been given a final warning from the FIA, and he could also face a race ban at the next race at the Italian Grand Prix at the Circuit of Monza. But as we look towards to this upcoming race weekend here at Spa, after being disqualified here from last year, Germany's Michael Schumacher is hoping to continue the fight against the Williams-Renault driver rival, that being of David Coulthard, and also his championship rival from also last year of Damon Hill. And the current weather here at the Circuit of Spa could also have a major factor on the upcoming race, as it may look quite overcast over the circuit at the moment. But just like at the French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours, there could be the possibility of some rain, and if it also falls heavily, we could be in for another wild and guaranteed wet Grand Prix as we head to another exciting and also beautiful venue for this afternoon's race. And good evening, all you Formula One fans out there. My name is Jack Wright, once again, and welcome to another edition of Grand Prix Formula One, my World Motorsport playthrough series, and to also extended race highlights of round 11 of the 1995 reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship with the 1995 Belgium Grand Prix, and here from the beautiful scenic, of course, that being Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And once again, before we forget, we would just like to apologise for the delay of the upload of this edition of Grand Prix Formula One. There's been loads of other things that have been going on in my personal life and with other projects running outside also of the Jackpot Button Lewis Sports Productions universe. But it's great to be back here for another edition of Grand Prix Formula One. Last time out, again, we were at of course, the tight and twisty, of course, tightest circuit on the Formula One calendar of 1995, that being the Hungaroring in Budapest in Hungary for the 1995 Marlboro Hungarian Grand Prix, where we saw once again Damon Hill, the British driver for Williams-Renault, take his second race victory of his, of course, 1995 season of this in particular championship. And we also saw an unbelievable and, quite frankly, I think, as we said at the top of the programme, a formidable performance, taking second place, the Frenchman of Olivier Panis, taking, of course, the first podium of the year for the Mugen-powered, of course, Honda-powered Ligier team. As you can see, as you've noticed, we've actually done, in special recognition of this achievement for the team, equaling one of their best results since the year last year in 1994, when, of course, Eric Barnard and Olivier Panis himself from the previous year also managed to get a 2-3 finish at the Hockenheim circuit in Germany for the German Grand Prix. But we honestly thought it was a great way to acknowledge the team, and also not to mention it's great to see that the French manufacturer have managed to achieve their first podium as of this reimagined 95 F1 season. Well, with also, that being said, we also had another third place finish for Britain's Mark Blundell in his Marlboro-sponsored McLaren Mercedes. That's unbelievably now his 5th podium so far as of this year, and also in his Formula One career. And also, we'll make that 6 actually, because he also got a podium from this time around last year also as well. No, actually, that was at the Spanish Grand Prix. I think actually, as we might have mentioned from all the way back earlier on in the season when we had the 4th round of the championship. But another great result once again for Ron Dennis, of course, the CEO of the team there as well. And With also that being said, sadly, as you did actually see, it was unfortunately a disastrous race weekend to forget for the prancing horses of Ferrari, with the Frenchman teammates of course, that being of Jean Alesi, and also Austrian Gerhard Berger, as they both, of course, were both black flagged almost exactly after each other in just a few laps of the 77 lap race distance last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix, due to causing avoidable collisions and also multiple unsportsmanlike behaviour style driving warnings. And we also did hear from also a post-race, of course, press conference as of recently. Max Mosley, of the president of the FIA, was outraged by both drivers. Of course, quite shameful driving, of course, skill and style, what they did last time out at the last round of this year's Reimagined F1 season. And we do know that we can confirm, before we show, of course, extended race highlights very shortly from this afternoon's Belgian Grand Prix from Spa-Francorchamps, we can confirm that Gerhard Berger was banned from taking part in this particular race following the disqualification in the last round at the Hungarian Grand Prix, and also picking up his first warning from initially all the way back at the German Grand Prix at Hockenheim. But we also do know that the FIA have also given a warning to Jean Alesi following his disqualification, so he could be also set to face one race ban, also two, and he could be missing out on taking part at the next race, which unbelievably is actually the home race for Ferrari, that being the Italian Grand Prix at the Circuit di Monza, and that will be quite a catastrophic, of course, thing to happen, and for all of the Tifosi fans who have been in fine voice, of course, despite what's been happening, even though some have been outraged by the performance of both their drivers for the team. And also Jean Todt, also the CEO, has also been also at the right in the thick of it, and not to mention even the team advisor, a former of course world champion, who also drove for Ferrari back in the late 70s, that being of Niki Lauda. And of course, he had some very quite colourful words to say, because we do know he is quite the strong character from his particular background, and not just because of his nationality of being Austrian, but I do know he is like that in real life. He is a no-nonsense kind of figure in the world of Formula One. And we do know that also Max Mosley, the president of the FIA, and also Bernie Ecclestone, also the president of the Formula One, of course, management, I've also got a very similar and almost kind of dual personalities in a way, which is, I know I wouldn't normally say that kind of thing, but I think it's quite a good way to compare both of them, because there's very little in it between them, since they are basically some of the top people that are a big part to the success and also the popularity of course, this multi-million-pound super sport, that being once again the FIA Formula One World Championship. But with, once again, that being said, let's quickly, of course, get to, before we get to extended race coverage of the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps, let's quickly remind you of the current Drivers' and Constructors' Championship point tables at the moment, as we move into the 11th round of this reimagined 95 F1 season. And even though he finished in 10th place last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix, Williams Renault driver, the Scotsman David Coulthard, continues his lead in the Drivers' Championship, and he has got a 9-point lead over Germany's Michael Schumacher in his Benetton with 34 points. Third place is the Briton of Mark Blundell in his McLaren Mercedes, as I just clear my throat, with 30 points. After that, another impressive fifth podium finish and another third position in this year's Reimagined Championship with 30 points. Fourth is Johnny Herbert. Even though he didn't finish in the points, he remains in fourth place with 27 points. And that all-important 10 points for the race win last time out for fellow Briton and countryman, that being Damon Hill in his Williams Renault. He now moves up to 5th place and only 1 point behind Johnny there, also in the Drivers' Championship so far. In 6th place is Jean Alesi, since, of course, once again, he was disqualified for the unsportsmanlike behaviour, multiple warnings from the last race. And he's also currently tied with Brazilian, that being Rubens Barrichello, in his, once again, Peugeot-powered, that being Total Jordan Grand Prix car. And we do know that, hopefully, that if he could get a points finish in the race very shortly, they'll put himself right back into it. And especially since we can also confirm that Michael Schumacher is going to be the driver we're going to be following this time on this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 in his Benetton Renault. We'll be seeing that even if he manages to win today, he will actually take the lead of the championship. That is, of course, if David Coulthard doesn't finish in the points again like he did the same last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring. But once again, 8th place is Gerhard Berger with 12 points. And once again to the Frenchman drivers, that being both Olivier Panis following his impressive 2nd place podium finish, and of course moving him up with 9 points. And he is also currently tied with his fellow of course French compatriot, that being of course of Jean-Christophe Bourgnon in his Red Bull sponsored Sauber Ford, also with 9 points as well. So it's still all to play for, and it couldn't get any more tighter than this. I mean, you know, especially with like I said, with the disqualification there of Gerhard Berger, once again, that even though of course he was expected to possibly take pole position in this race, we know that he's not going to be taking part because of that disqualification, and it's going to be very interesting. I mean, Ferrari are in a very of course uncomfortable and quite the predicament position at the moment in the Drivers' Championship thus far. But as that covering the Drivers' Championship, as we now quickly look at the Constructors' Championship next, and once again, the all-important 10 points earned from Damon Hill. That means that now Williams Renault have now leading the the Constructors' Championship, and they have taken the lead over Benetton, and they are now just leading by only, I think that being just 5 or 6 points. I mean, that is just incredible to see that they have managed to turn it around in just the last 2 races. And once again, Benetton Renault have dropped down to 2nd now with only 57 points. But it's still very little in it between both constructors here as we move to the next race of this reimagined season. McLaren Mercedes continue their, of course, their dominance in 3rd place. And once again have got 40 points, and they could also they've started to really find some form again, of course, from consistent points finishes over the last few races. And if they can score high points today, they could be contenders to possibly be up there to also battle alongside Benetton and also Williams, possibly for the Constructors' Championship towards the latter half of this reimagined 95 season. Once again, 4th place is Ferrari with 33 points, as they're 10 points ahead by since they, of course, since that double disqualification and no points, they have still managed to have a 10-point, of course, gap over the total sponsored Jordan Grand Prix Peugeot powered team, that being of course in 5th place, as we said there, with 23 points. And also Red Bull sponsored Sauber Ford are still in 6th place with 15 points, but unbelievably, following the podium finish there from Olivier Panis, Ligier have moved from 8th to 7th place, and they have got 9 points so far, and 1 singular point earned from Yukio Katayama, finishing 6th place last time time out at the Hungaroring for the Nokia-sponsored Tyrrell Yamaha team with 5 points, but still in 9th place with only 2 points so far are the team, that being of Footwork Heart, also known as Arrows Heart. So there you go, everybody. That is, of course, a quick reminder of the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship point tables as we go to the 11th round of this 1995 Reimagined F1 season with, once again, the Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps. A quick reminder that, once again, we also, as you saw from the top of the programme, we do know that the weather is also quite unpredictable here. There was a lot of low-level cloud around the forest areas, of course, this particular part of the championship, of course, near the village of Francorchamps itself in Wallonia. And we do know that there was also the possibility of some heavy rain towards the three-quarter length part of the race, so it's going to be very similar conditions, I think, but a lot more heavier than, of course, the conditions we had at the French Grand Prix at Magny-Cours. It's going to be, I think, quite reminiscent of the conditions we had at the, I think, the third round, that being the San Marino Grand Prix for Imola. So, it's going to make it all exciting, though, for all of you viewers watching, and especially with the tyres also, that since the drivers and teams can only have slick or wet tyres, there isn't an intermediate tyre as we would see in later seasons in the sport, but it's going to be very, very interesting to see how the drivers and teams get on with this particular circuit. Once again, to remind you, the course length is once again of 3.330 miles, which is 6.968 kilometers, and the lap race distance, or the full race distance, there of 44 laps, which is 306.856 kilometers, which in miles is 191.785. And we also do know that as of this race weekend, we've also had an attendance of in excess of 100,000 of course, people there. So, and actually, interesting to know, I completely forgot to say also, as we also would like to remind you, as I've said before, with as you did actually hear from the Ferrari team, both the drivers of Gerhard Berger and John Alesi, both being disqualified after the, of course, or during the race. They have also received €100,000 fines as well, both shared by both drivers, that being 50,000, and also they also have received a few points on their super license also as well, which will possibly go towards them maybe if they get too many, they could be stripped of that and not be able to compete in this of course championship of motorsport. But anyway, the reason why that I'm also looking at my screen here is that also we have, because of the disqualification there, as I've said, without sounding too repetitive, of course, of Gerhard Berger and his Ferrari, we can also quickly remind you also that in this situation, we weren't expecting this to happen, everybody, but because of this disqualification, and also unbelievably due to the game that we are basing this series on of Formula 1 by the now defunct, of course, Psygnosis and Bizarre Creations, we do know that there isn't of course, an option or feature to get rid of drivers that are being disqualified, or they don't have the official flags or rules, of course, for jump starts and for penalties, that kind of thing. So what we've managed to try and do in as realistically as possible is that the starting grid, we are going to be showing you it a lot more earlier than expected here on this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, and we've had to, of course, we've got 23 drivers starting out and they're all based off the real-life qualifying sessions that happened from earlier on as of this race weekend. But if you are seeing it on your screen right now, here is, of course, the revised starting grid of this year's 1995, of course, Belgian Grand Prix, here from Spa-Francorchamps. So that means that Johnny Herbert is on pole position in his Benetton Renault, with second being Jean Alesi, and third Mick Hakkinen in his McLaren, fourth David Coulthard in his Williams, and then fifth Mark Blundell in his McLaren. Great qualifying there once again from the McLaren Mercedes team there, and also sixth Eddie Irvine in his Jordan, seventh Michael Schumacher in his Benetton, and then eighth Damon Hill, ninth Olivier Panis in his Ligier, and then his British teammate for the same team there in 10th Martin Brundle, 11th Heinz-Harald Frentzen in his Sauber, 12th Mika Salo, and 13th Rubens Barrichello. Of course, 14th is Jean-Christophe Bourgnon, and 15th Yukio Katayama, 16th not Pierluigi Martini, he's already retired. I meant to say Pedro Lamy there. And if you are seeing it, of course, on your screen right now, we have slowed it down for all of you because we once again weren't expecting this to happen. But we do know that in his third race, the Italian driver Giovanni Lavaggi is this time actually starting in 22nd place rather than 23rd. And I mean, it's so confusing just to actually see, of course, the drivers, how they qualified there. But, of course, the weather conditions have been hit and miss for some of the drivers in this particular race weekend. So we could be in once again, as always, for another unpredictable race. As to quote, of course, my fellow commentating partner, that being the legendary voice of Formula One himself, Murray Walker, would normally say, anything can happen in Formula One, and it usually does. Well, we certainly were not expecting this to happen in any way, of course, and it's crazy to think it's happened now here on this edition of Grand Prix Formula One, but we are, of course, sticking and just rolling with it, and hopefully that it won't spoil too much for all of you viewers out there watching, and of course, all I can gonna say is I think you're gonna be in for a real treat with, of course, this race right now. So with that being said, it's now time here on Grand Prix Formula One. It's time for extended race highlights. And from earlier on this afternoon, as we have the 11th round of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship, as we have the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix, or more specifically translated in French, that being the 1995 Grand Prix de Belgique, from once again the Circuit Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium.
Welcome to beautiful Spa in Belgium for round 11 of the championship.
FIA Formula One World Championship. Round 11. The 1995 Grand Prix de Belgique from the circuit of Spa-Francorchamps. And now, to take you through all 44 laps of this afternoon's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix, here from the Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium, it's now time to hand you over to our official race commentators. First of all, Jack Wright, then followed shortly, as always, by the legendary voice of Formula One himself, Mr. Murray Walker. So here we are once again, everybody, and this time coming from the beautiful and scenic, once again, Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps here in Belgium, in the beautiful Belgian countryside and forest areas. And once again, we are here for the 11th round of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship with the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix. Once again, Johnny Herbert is on pole position in this Benetton Renault following the disqualification there for, once again, Austrian Gerhard Berger. And we do know that, once again, John Alesi is also in second there, also in the other Ferrari. But we do know that the FIA stewards are going to be looking on him, just like Gerhard did, of course, in the last race at the Hungaroring in Budapest, Hungary. And he could be facing another race ban also, just like what Gerhard has done, since he had no choice but to be, of course, suspended and also banned from competing in this afternoon's race weekend and the race itself here at Spa. But we do know that the conditions are also, once again, quite unpredictable, but we could possibly be in for another quite wild but also fairly potentially wet race also too. But we hope that you won't mind in any at all, of course, in any way here, of course, all you racing fans here on, of course, watching with us. And we are going to be following, as always, every step of the way. And once again, it's time to, as the drivers are just making their of course, their way onto their grid slots on the starting grid. And as they come to the end of the formation lap, once again, it's now time for extended race highlights of the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps, and once again the 11th round of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship. Honestly, Murray, if I'm going to say it once, I'll say it again as you would normally say. I just hope that we don't see more dirty driving from the Ferraris this time round. Well, then again, there's only one that's going to be racing with John Alesi. This is just absolutely insane. Who would have thought that this would only happen on this series I'm doing right now? Unbelievable.
They're ready for the on. Watch for the green. Red, green, go! Oh my word! He's been overtaken. Up through the gears.
Oh my goodness, Murray! Well, we weren't expecting that at all from Michael Schumacher. I think he must have been stuck in gear. I think he was in neutral gear.
That's taken him up a position.
But as you just said, Murray, from initially starting in 8th, he's dropped down from initially 19th position, but now he's up.
16, Giovanni Lavaggio. 17, Michael Schumacher. 18, Ukio Katayama.
He has just managed to get back up and now into 7th position, but he now makes a move.
Spectacular overtaking there.
As he effortlessly overtakes the Italian Giovanni Lavaggio in his Pacific Ford.
And the gap is closing.
Well, as you can see, everybody,
Not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
well, I think he could have asked for a better start there, Murray. I know that he would have initially put the accelerator pedal straight down if he would have actually taken, of course, or...
Race order. First, Gerhard Berger. In second, Johnny Herbert. In third place, Jean Alesi. Fourth, David Coulthard. In fifth position, Mika Häkkinen. In sixth, Eddie Irvine. He's closing the gap.
He could have wished for a better start there, but that was unfortunate that he, I think he nearly almost stalled the car entirely, but he managed to just get back. He managed to get underway, and even though I think he initially unexpectedly held up some of the back markers behind him, I'm surprised they didn't just overtake him. But there were yellow flags waved by the marshals, so they could warn the drivers that he was still in a stationary position.
And the gap is closing. That's taken in upper position.
A great overtake there on Jean-Christophe Bourgnon's Sauber there from Schumacher. As he approaches... Oh, I think there was contact. Yes! Oh!
To be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
And I think that was as he passes Martin Brundle-Ligier.
Spectacular overtaking there.
I think that was Massimiliano Papis's fault, actually going into the side of Brundle's car there, and he has got an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning now.
Unbelievable. That's moved him up a place. Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. In second place, Johnny Herbert. In third, Jean Alesi. In fourth place, David Coulthard. In fifth, Mika Häkkinen. Sixth, Damon Hill.
Well, even though you are saying it, Murray, you do know he is disqualified, Berger. So currently, just
A lot of time there.
to clarify to all the viewers watching here on Grand Prix Formula 1, Johnny Herbert is actually leading so far by 18 seconds. Schumacher now approaches the Frenchman of Olivier Panis, who got his impressive second place last time out at the Hungarian Grand Prix, down the Kemmel Straight, and he passes him.
Martin Brundle. He's closing the gap.
My apologies, that actually was Martin Brundle. Sorry there, Murray. I think Panis was further down, as I think it was Papis that made contact with Panis. I know they sound almost exactly the same as each other there, Murray.
Sensational. Spectacular overtaking there.
And Schumacher effortlessly passes Jean-Christophe Bourgnon's...
Gap is closing.
I think that was Bourgnon, because I think Frentzen was further down in his Red Bull Sauber Ford. Schumacher is making some very...
Race order. In first, Gerhard Berger. In second position, Johnny Herbert. In third, David Coulthard. Fourth, Jean Alesi. In fifth position, Mika Häkkinen. In sixth place, Damon Hill.
How revolutionary pace here, just out of nowhere.
He's closing the gap. You can see visually just how small the gap is.
While he is getting closer and closer, as he's nearly wheel to wheel with Mark Blundell's McLaren. Down the...
Really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Absolutely, Murray, through the daunting Eau Rouge corner. But it looks like the McLaren-powered, or make that Mercedes-powered McLaren
Mark Blundell. Michael Schumacher. 10th, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
He somehow has just managed to fend off Schumacher. Schumacher goes for another move again. It's too late.
He forces his way through.
And Schumacher's Benetton was no match for Blundell's McLaren that time around, as Michael Schumacher now sets the new fastest lap of 2 minutes 14 seconds, 0.961 hundredths of a second.
He's definitely gaining.
Absolutely, Murray. And he is not stopping there at all.
Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. In second place, David Coulthard. Third, Johnny Herbert. In fourth, Jean Alesi. In fifth place, Mika. In sixth position, Damon Hill.
We'd just like to apologise to our viewers for the...
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
If you let me finish there, Murray, first. The unexpected freeze in the game on your screen of the broadcast of this race. And also the microphone cutout of Murray announcing Mick Hakkinen's name there. Oh!
That's moved him off a place.
Looked like Eddie Irvine nearly tried to squeeze.
Eddie Irvine.
Schumacher from going down the Eau Rouge corner.
He's up into the points now, and the gap is closing. It's raining and the track is fairly wet.
Well, as Schumacher overtakes his championship rival, Britain's Damon Hill and his Williams, we can see that there is quite an increasing amount of rain starting to fall around the Spa-Francorchamps circuit. A lot of spray is being kicked up by most of the cars.
Amazing! That's moved him up a place,
Around the circuit.
and he's gained a lot of time there. Race order. Gerhard Berger. David Coulthard. Johnny Herbert. Jean Alesi. It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
As Schumacher just overtook Mika Häkkinen's McLaren, Schumacher is unbelievably now up into 5th place. As he approaches the bus stop chicane. And Coulthard leads by 5 seconds.
He's definitely gaining.
Second, Herbert, and Alesi in 3rd. That meaning that, of course, that is incorrect on your screen right now. Schumacher is supposed to be in 4th place since Berger, once again, is disqualified. Obviously from the last race. And he initially has been banned from even competing in this afternoon's Belgian Grand Prix here at Spa.
He's closing the gap. He's in the slipstream of the car in front.
There's a real battle between Schumacher and Alesi, and he's passed!
That's taken him up a position.
Schumacher is making this look very easy in the most, obviously, contradicting of conditions this afternoon here. It has to be said.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
Well,
He's gained a lot of time there.
as you just said, Murray, and also as well as he...
In first, Gerhard Berger. Second, third position, Johnny Herbert. In fourth place, Michael Schumacher. Fifth, Jean Alesi. That's taken him up a position.
A great overtake there on his fellow Benetton teammate Johnny Herbert there, Schumacher. And he nearly overshoots the bus stop chicane, but just slows down in time. I think he nearly locked up and nearly aquaplaned.
And the gap is closing.
Well, even though he did have problems with his gearbox at the start, Schumacher has had an amazing recovery. As 38 laps are remaining and David Coulthard starts lap 6 out of 44 of this afternoon's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix. Absolutely! He goes up to nearly 180 miles an hour down the Kemmel Straight, but manages to brake in time for the chicane.
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
And we've also just getting news also and some information from the race engineer Michael Schumacher. He is going to be doing a two-stop strategy in this race, and he's hoping...
He's closing the gap. Race order. Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Michael Schumacher, Johnny Herbert.
to possibly come in on lap 14 for the first of his possible 2 pit stops for this afternoon's race. Schumacher is right up now, the rear wing of Coulthard's Williams. He rides over the curb but keeps the car under control, and luckily no suspension damage.
And he's gained a lot of time now.
He's really putting the pressure on Coulthard now here, Schumacher. He sticks to the racing line. Through Rouge again. He goes left, then right.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
He tried to go for a move, but
He's closing. He's right up tight behind him, pushing hard.
he didn't want to overshoot the chicane, and he just backs out of it. But he's got so much pace to Coulthard. The current championship leader is in real trouble here. Schumacher almost eyes up for another pass. He backs out of it once again.
Race order. The race leader, Gerhard Berger. Second, David Coulthard. In third, Michael Schumacher. In fourth place, Johnny Herbert. In fifth position, Jean Alesi. Sixth, Damon Hill.
Schumacher is still on the rear wing of Coulthard's Williams once again. And we've also just had another weather report that the rain is starting to get slightly heavier. But it feels like, I think that, strangely enough, that most of the field are already on wet tyres. That was heavy braking there from Coulthard. Well, he seems to be doing really well in these wet conditions, and we saw that previously a few rounds ago at the French Grand Prix when it was drizzly in places, but the damp, greasy track surface still didn't cause the German many problems. And he goes for a move on Coulthard.
That's taken him up a position, and the gap is closing.
Schumacher is literally flying his Benetton Renault-powered car around this circuit this afternoon. I think he could be possibly wanting to fancy his chances of winning here this afternoon. And especially if he finishes ahead of Coulthard. This could really...
Gerhard Berger, Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard.
This could really help him.
He's closing the gap.
This could really help him in this year's Drivers' Championship. Sorry to interrupt you there, Murray. I know there was a bit of a delay on your microphone. And to all of our listeners as well, we can only thoroughly apologise. This is also down to, I think, the game disc also having a few scratches as well, which also doesn't help, unfortunately, but there's nothing we can sadly do. We are trying our very best to rectify it as the race coverage goes on here, everyone.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Well, as you say again, Murray, he seems to really be impressing both of us here in the commentary box.
He's gained a lot of time there.
He most certainly has there, Murray, as he starts to catch up with the back markers, as we just saw him earlier on pass Brazilian that being, I think it was Pedro Diniz, and then both Lavaggio and also Montemini's Pacifics. And Michael Schumacher sets a new fastest lap there of 2 minutes 10 points. I think that was 8.69 hundredths of a second. Well, once again, Schumacher is unofficially leading, even though it does show him in being in second place. Coulthard in second, third Herbert, fourth Alesi, and fifth Damon Hill. And we can't seem to find out who is...
Race order. First, Gerhard Berger. In second place, Michael Schumacher. In third position, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Johnny Herbert. Fifth, Jean Alesi. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. In sixth, Damon Hill.
Well, he's really starting to eat a load of spray from the other cars here, as well as not just shedding a lot of adrenaline, there's a load of water drops on his helmet and visor, and I think his race overalls from inside that cockpit of his Renault-powered Benetton.
He's losing ground.
Slightly, Murray, but that was because of... He's just trying to take it easy here. He doesn't need to rush. Taking the lead here.
Now he's in first place.
That was a brilliant bit of driving there through the Eau Rouge corner once again. He's been doing some superb overtakes.
Accelerator.
He absolutely is again, Murray. Pushing the car almost to its red line. But once again, it's not as quick as it was at the German Grand Prix when it was on a completely different wing setup. This is on max downforce, since this is a lot more, well, not just as a tight and twisty circuit as the Hungaroring in Hungary was, but this is another...
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. 4, Johnny Herbert. In fifth position, John Alesi. In sixth place, Damon Hill.
As we said, if you did hear at the top of the programme, we do know that this is a real favourite circuit among Michael Schumacher, as he missed out on winning here, as he shortly was disqualified for the excessive wear on the plank underneath his car, the skid, of course, block, as it was mentioned, which somehow broke FIA regulations, and thus he lost his victory to Damon Hills in his Williams. Mika Hakkinen in his McLaren, of course, powered by Peugeot engines, took second. And also Jos Verstappen, who was previously driving for Benetton with Ford engines this time last year, took third place. But we do know he's no longer in Formula One as of currently, since the Simtech team once again were quite underfunded and were completely overwhelmed in debt, and they were officially bankrupt at the end of the Monaco Grand Prix. Well, you can see Schumacher, as he's now leading, he's really wanting to try, and it seems like he wants to try and break.
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. 4, Johnny Herbert. In fifth, John Alesi. In sixth place, Damon Hill.
Sorry once again to interrupt you there, Murray, of the current track lap record. But Schumacher is looking in a very comfortable position, as he has broken. He's also set another fastest lap of 2 minutes 7.549 hundredths of a second. And he's now leading 20 seconds ahead of the existing Ferrari. As Schumacher starts lap 12 of this afternoon's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix.
That's half of acceleration there.
Same thing again, Murray, here from Spa-Francorchamps. He is literally pushing that Benetton. Of course.
It's not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
Make that Renault-powered Benetton to its absolute limit. And he's more than good, Murray, as you said already. He is literally, I wouldn't say showboating, but he is really making a statement that, and proving that he's still a contender to challenge David Coulthard.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert.
For this year's 1995 FIA Formula One World Drivers' Championship title. He did have a think about overtaking. I think that was Olivier Panis again. He tried to go on the outside of one of the corners, but he just got closed off. But there was already a blue flag anyway, because he was already lapped from the marshals, waved. But he is approaching his first pit stop on lap 14. As he starts lap 13. And my word, I know it's not completely visible on your, of course, your screens here. All you viewers watching here.
You've got to be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
It definitely looks like the rain is starting to get heavier now. There's definitely a load of puddles and standing water around the circuit in places. I think the race control needs to keep an eye on this, because we don't want to have the conditions to be too dangerous to race in. Not to mention following the unexpected deaths of Roland Ratzenberger.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert.
And of course the late great Ayrton Senna, who over a year ago at the San Marino Grand Prix we both lost in the same race weekend, and we nearly also lost Rubens Barrichello driving for the Jordan team. He had a near fatal crash also in qualifying, while Roland was sadly killed during the same session, and Ayrton in the actual race that followed the day after. Schumacher continues to shave more seconds off his fastest lap of 2 minutes and 6 seconds, and Schumacher is now approaching the pit window for his first pit stop, which I think he'll come in because the track is looking fairly wet in places.
He's accelerating hard now.
Down the Kemmel straight again. He's really got some blistering pace on his Benetton so far. But once again, he has still got a long race ahead of him. Oh, and he nearly goes wide. He needs to be careful on those curbs. He can't afford to spin out if he accelerates on them, especially with these wet conditions.
Race order. Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert.
And yes, I think I've just been told by our producers from, of course, Michael Schumacher and the Benetton Renault mechanics. They're going to bring Schumacher in at the end of this lap, and he's just about to head down the pit lane entry now.
You've got to be good, and he is that.
And in he comes for his first pit stop of this afternoon's Grand Prix here at Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium.
The mechanics are out in the pit lane.
He's looking quite low on fuel there. He changes his tyres to top up of fuel.
Unless I'm very much mistaken, I am very much mistaken. That's a slow one.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that at all, Murray. You could tell he was putting a lot of fuel into his car. I don't know if he might be considering a one-stop there, but he is hoping to come in for another pit stop, but it looked like the tyres were about half worn there, so that was a good call to bring Schumacher in there, even though that was a 12.7 pit stop time. As Schumacher continues to hold the lap, fastest lap record of 2 minutes 6 seconds.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Johnny Herbert.
.925. And now David...
He's shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Once again, David Coulthard is in second place. And Johnny Herbert currently in third. It would be amazing to see Benetton Renault get a double podium finish this afternoon, because it will really put them back in contention of the lead of the Constructors' Championship. Schumacher leading the Ferrari of with a 31-second gap. But he looks like he's getting caught behind by back markers again, since he's been so quick here. He still has got a comfortable time cushion there. He's currently stuck behind, I think that's Mika Salo's Tyrrell. As 28 laps are remaining of this afternoon's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps. And the marshals are waving a blue flag, so he needs to let him pass soon here.
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car. Race order, the race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second, Gerhard Berger. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth place, Johnny Herbert. In fifth, Damon Hill. In sixth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
And now Jean-Christophe Pouliot in his Red Bull Sauber Ford has now made it into the top 5 at the moment, holding on to 5th place. Schumacher is literally flying round this circuit without sounding too repetitive, Murray. But this is some incredible pace we have seen from Coulthard as of this afternoon's race here at Spa-Francorchamps. And once again, he may have qualified 8th and had that gearbox problem, being stuck in neutral, dropping down initially to 18th place, but he's really...
You've got to be good, and he is that.
He's literally powered past almost the whole entire field here. And I think I wouldn't be surprised he's already lapped most of the field.
Michael Schumacher, Gerhard Berger, David Coulthard, Damon Hill.
Almost a good, well, make that twice or maybe even 3 or 4 times right now. But Michael Schumacher couldn't be in a more better position here, because like I said, if he does go on to win this race, he'll be right back at it in the Drivers' Championship. But we do know that David Coulthard is still behind him here, but he is yet to pit, so it could all change as we reach the halfway mark of this afternoon's Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa. Load of back markers are starting to slow up Schumacher here.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Whoa! He's nearly been brought to a standstill. Whoa! An aggressive bit of defensive driving there. I think that might have been from Taki Inoue there in his footwork. Whoa! And he did get tagged. He just ended up tagging Schumacher. The rear wing of Taki Inoue's footwork there. And that's an unsportsmanlike behaviour warning for Taki Inoue there. For unsportsmanlike behaviour like style driving.
First, Michael Schumacher. In second, Gerhard Berger. In third place, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Damon Hill. In fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Sixth, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, the marshals are waving blue flags to let Schumacher past. And now he passes Taki Inoue there. I hope it was the slightest of touches. Hopefully Schumacher's front wing is relatively undamaged.
There was definitely contact between the two cars. Unbelievable.
And also, unbelievably, I think Martin Brundle, well, it's one of the Ligier Mugen Honda drivers.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
Schumacher is trying to get through these back markers as quickly as possible without trying to get any damage there, even though he caught some just on the left side of his car. Flying over the curbs again. Luckily, once again, no suspension damage from flying over those quite high curbs on through the bus stop chicane. As he passes Eddie Jordan, that of course being the founder of the Jordan Grand Prix team, I meant to say Eddie Irvine there.
In first, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Gerhard Berger. Third, David Coulthard. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth place, Damon Hill. In sixth position, Rubens Barrichello.
A fellow Northern Irishman, since they both have the same name there. And Schumacher is now about to lap Jean Alesi, which he does with no problem at all.
You've got to be good, and he is that.
No change to the fastest lap, still set by Michael Schumacher. And he's nearly almost a minute ahead. Oh, I think that being David Coulthard, I think.
He's having to use the brakes an awful lot.
Well, I was going to say there was some heavy braking into the bus stop chicane there. As Schumacher starts lap 20 out of 44, he continues to lead here at Spa-Francorchamps. David Coulthard still in second.
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second place, David Coulthard. Third, Gerhard Berger. In fourth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Damon Hill. Sixth, Rubens Barrichello.
And unbelievably, Jean-Christophe Pouliot is holding on to a podium position. It is Red Bull Sauber Ford. That's incredible driving from the current reigning International Formula 3000 champion, once again from France. Apologies if you were hearing any background noise in our studio. We know that the rain is starting to really lash onto the track now. It feels like the driving conditions are just getting worse all the time now as of this particular Grand Prix race. He goes through Blanchimont nearly at almost exactly at top speed of 180 miles an hour before braking heavily once again into the bus stop chicane.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that. Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second position, David Coulthard. Third, Gerhard Berger. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth place, Damon Hill. Sixth, Rubens Barrichello.
No change to the top six as we now ride on board with Michael Schumacher as he's wheel to wheel now, overtaking Luca Badoer's Minardi through the chicane into a short right, into another sweeping right-hander, and now into a left-hander, and now in this time into a long sweeping left-hander over the curbs, but luckily he keeps the car under control. And look at this, Schumacher is now leading by a whole minute and 2 seconds of David Coulthard's Williams, as it was 58 seconds from earlier on the last lap.
They're really right on the edge, pushing into the limit all the time.
Schumacher is about to approach. Oh my goodness me, we can't literally see because of all of the spray hitting the
Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second, David Coulthard. Third, Gerhard Berger. In fourth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth, Damon Hill. In sixth position, Rubens Barrichello. That was almost certainly a collision there.
well, I don't know if that was Mika Hakkinen or Mark Blundell, but I'm surprised
Hard on the accelerator.
they made contact with Schumacher there. I think they must have just banged wheels going through Eau Rouge there, but Schumacher is still going. I know we couldn't see there from the camera in, of course, the cockpit of the Benetton Renault. Michael Schumacher is Well, we've also now just been hearing from the team radio of and the race engineer of Michael Schumacher. He's going to be coming in for his second pit stop on lap 24. Oh no! Oh! Schumacher just skids on the curb. Wow, that was so close. I thought he was going to go into the barriers there, Murray. Oh my goodness. My heart was in my throat just then. Oh my word.
Race order. In first place, Michael Schumacher. In second position, David Coulthard. In third, Gerhard Berger. Fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth position, Damon Hill. In sixth place, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, as you just said the race order there, Murray, that was completely out of nowhere. I didn't honestly think Schumacher was going to skid on that curb, but incredible driving style there and a great recovery. Oh no, Schumacher's gone wide through that chicane. I think he must be having problems with the very wet track. And I think the wet weather tyres he's got on are starting to wear and overheat.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
But Schumacher once again is in a very comfortable position, so he is so far ahead of everybody. Even if he has a slow pit stop like he did earlier on, but that was mostly down to a huge fuel load that was put into his car. Schumacher will once again rejoin back in first place and remain in the lead of this 1995 Belgian Grand Prix race here at Spa. Once again, up to now 182.
Race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Gerhard Berger. In third, David Coulthard. In fourth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fifth place, Damon Hill. Sixth, Rubens Barrichello.
He has drove out of his skin this afternoon, Murray here, Michael Schumacher. And if there could have been any more better time for him to...
He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
to find himself back in the Drivers' Championship title race. It's incredible how Schumacher has managed to come back from how it all started earlier on in the race. As he's on lap 24 right now. Getting caught up by, I think that's Giovanni Lavaggi's Pacific. There's a blue flag. Ooh! He sticks on the racing line, but there we go. He now has to let him past. His Pacific Ford is no match on pace to the Benetton. And for the second time this afternoon,
Race order. In first, Michael Schumacher. In second place, David Coulthard. In third position, Gerhard Berger. Fourth, Damon Hill. place. He'd better watch his speed.
Well, as he comes in for his pit stop, he got some damage on his rear wing, and he's also got 32% wear on his tyres. It's going to be a lot more slower pit stop because of the damage.
It's a slow stop.
23.2 seconds, and I know that seems long, but I think he's fine to have that slow pit stop because of the damage that he must have picked up from earlier on in the race. But he has got enough fuel to the end of this race now, I think it has to be said. But there's been another little mix-up. Damon Hill now moves up to third place.
On the accelerator.
Now, this could get very interesting. If David Coulthard, he's still currently in second, this could be a 2-3 finish here for the Williams team. If they stay where they are. Now, this is what Benetton were not expecting, but this could really help. Once again, Williams maintain their lead in the Constructors' Championship. It's great to see that they...
Order. Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill.
Their performance has been
Not enough to be lucky. You've got to be good. And he is that.
up and down and all the way around throughout this year's Reimagined 1995 Formula One season. And Jean-Christophe Bourlion is now still in fourth place though, because once again, that's still unbelievably his best race position so far. And Michael Schumacher, incredibly, is leading now nearly by 2 minutes to David Coulthard. Are we going to be seeing, like what Damon Hill did all the way back at the San Marino Grand Prix at Imola, where we remember he incredibly, like no other driver could have done it, finish ahead of all of the other drivers and the field by nearly 3 minutes. Oh no!
Look at this! Look at this! It's Schumacher! He must have hit the barrier there.
And he did! I think he just aquaplaned on on one of the curbs, just off that chicane. But somehow Schumacher is still going.
He's shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
I thought that was going to be race over.
Michael Schumacher, David Coulthard, Gerhard Berger, Damon Hill.
And he goes wide onto the grass. Whoa, he skids again. The rain is really lashing down again. And I think I know that's why. I think possibly he lost control of his Benetton into the barrier. But he only just gets a slight bit of front wing damage.
It's raining and the track is fairly wet.
It's completely waterlogged now here, Murray, as we go into the final third of this afternoon's and this year's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps. As we've already went past the halfway mark halfway mark, sorry. Not Mac. On lap 22. And look at this! Jean Alesi has just come out of nowhere trying to unlap himself with Schumacher. But Schumacher gets it back down the Kemmel Straight and past Montemini's Pacific. And also Pedro Diniz's 40 course Ford.
Race order in first place. Michael Schumacher in second. Damon Hill in third position. David Coulthard. In fourth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Fifth, Gerhard Berger. In sixth position, Mark Blundell.
He goes on the curbs again, nearly onto the grass. The visibility that all the drivers must be experiencing in their cars must be absolutely horrendous. But still, the race is still carrying on. I'm amazed that we haven't had that many retirements due to this very wet weather.
To be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
He nearly gets brake checked by, I think that was Heinz-Alf Frentzen Sauber. But now Damon Hill moves up to second place. Championship rivals last year of 1994, and now both in first and second position. Schumacher passes Bournion.
Race order in first place. Michael Schumacher, second. Damon Hill in third. Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In fourth place, Mark Blundell. In fifth position, Taki Inoue. In sixth, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, this race is just getting crazier and crazier by the minute. As Jean-Christophe Bournion is back in third place and holding on to a very precious podium finish for Sauber. Now, the last time this happened was with the Austrian Karl Wendlinger,
Right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time.
who you may remember got third place at the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalonia, and then he had to miss the next race at Monaco due to an ongoing head injury assessment when he had a near fatal crash there this time, or from that time when the race happened last year. Yes, everybody, do not adjust your sets again, as another fellow Frenchman, that being Jean-Christophe Bournion in a Sauber Ford, is currently in third place in this year's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix, here from, once again, Spa-Francorchamps. Schumacher, I think he's lapped, actually, unbelievably, Damon Hill again.
First, Michael Schumacher. In second position, Damon Hill. In third place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. Fourth, Mark Blundell. In fifth position, Rubens Barrichello. In 6th place, Taki Inoue.
And amazingly, Taki Inoue is in the points now for Footwork Heart. He was in 5th, but now he's dropped down to 6th as Rubens Barrichello in his Jordan Peugeot has managed to overtake him in the last lap.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
Schumacher passes Brundle in his Ligier. Nearly overshooting again the bus stop chicane. As some drivers are doing some late pit stops here. That's incredible. I can't believe Michael Schumacher has actually lapped the whole entire field of cars. As 14 laps are remaining of the Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps.
He's hard on the accelerator. Race order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In 2nd place, Damon Hill. 3rd, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In 4th, Mark Blundell. In 5th place, Rubens Barrichello. In 6th position, Taki Inoue. He must be shedding buckets of adrenaline in that car.
Well, I know he must be almost soaking wet in his racing overalls, Schumacher, but he is still driving tremendously well here at Spa. And I think I can see that the rain clouds are starting to lighten up a little bit, but there is still a lot of service water on the track. Schumacher once again is leading with Hill 2nd, Bouillon 3rd, Blundell in 4th, 5th Barrichello, and Taki Inoue in his Footwork Heart rounds off the top 6 at the moment. But as it stands, my apologies, not just Schumacher, but David Coulthard could potentially lose, I think, his Drivers' Championship lead after this race. That is, if Schumacher can make it to the end of the race. And this will be his 4th race victory of the Reimagined 1995 Formula 1 Championship season. The last time he won was once again at the French Grand Prix at Manicourt.
Damon Hill, Jean-Christophe Pouliot, Mark Blundell.
This will be his 4th race victory of the championship so far. This time last year in 1994, he would have won his 6th race, but that's once again after the unexpected disqualification of his plank underneath his car with it was excessively worn and somehow broke FIA regulations, which I think is something that we very rarely actually hear of. That's quite worthy of a penalty or even a disqualification in a Formula 1 Grand Prix race, if I ever heard anything else. I think that's Johnny Herbert who's just pitted. Well, Murray, it has to be said, I certainly wasn't expecting another dominant performance here from Michael Schumacher. And I mean, this is very reminiscent
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
of what Damon Hill did all the way back in the third round of the championship.
Race order: Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Jean-Christophe Pouliot, Marc Blundell.
At Imola in San Marino. As he passes Max Parpis in his footwork cart. Well, I know, especially when a driver is this dominant, it's crazy to think that we very rarely say that Formula One is a boring sport, but we certainly was not expecting this outright domination from Schumacher this afternoon. But as the current classification as it stands, this couldn't have been any more important for the championship chances for, of course, Schumacher going into the last 6 races of the 95 F1 season.
This young man really is a superlative driver.
I mean, he is literally been in a class of his own this afternoon, Murray.
He's hard on the accelerator.
And dare I say it, Murray, can anyone beat the current champion of 1994? That is this young German man himself, that being, as I've said before, Michael Schumacher.
Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Marc Blundell, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
But no way! Out of nowhere, Marc Blundell has now overtaken Bouillon into third place again. He is heading for a 6th consecutive podium finish. This has been incredible driving from the British driver. Oh! Schumacher goes wide. I think his tyres might be starting to wear here, but have they got enough life in them to get to the end of this race here? After a stonking performance from him here, he deserves this race victory and then some this afternoon, Murray. Without sounding too biased, of course.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
As we approach the last 10 laps, it's definitely looking more likely on a foregone conclusion, but Schumacher is literally having the Sunday drive of his life, I think, here, Murray. In the most appalling of conditions, but he's really proven as a Reimmeister, as they would call him in Germany.
Schumacher, Damon Hill, Marc Blundell, Jean-Christophe Pouliot.
That being, of course, a Reimmeister. and he has been so good all around in both wet and dry conditions so far this year. And to come from the most unlikeliest of positions, this is something that we really do not take for granted to witness, but when it happens, it is truly a memorable and quite remarkable thing to see happen.
It's not
And
enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that.
materialise, I think. And since, of course, it is possibly looking more likely he's going to win this afternoon, we can give you an update that next time on Grand Prix Formula 1, as we head to the Italian Grand Prix at the Circuit di Monza in Italy for the 12th round of this year's 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, we are going to be joining back to the British teammate of Michael Schumacher for Benetton Renault, of Johnny Herbert,
Pedal to the metal, flat out.
who's currently won 2 races of this championship so far this year, at the Argentine Grand Prix at Buenos Aires, and of course that
Race order, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, George Christophe Pouliot.
truly unforgettable win in front of his home crowd at Silverstone at the British Grand Prix. But the rivalry, both drivers and teams of both Benetton and Williams, both powered by, once again, Renault engines. You know, there's very little in it among
This young man really is a superlative driver.
both drivers of Schumacher and Herbert, and Coulthard and Hill. And he's now unbelievably hit 3 minutes. I think he's almost about to break a new world record of the longest winning margin in any Formula 1 Grand Prix race that we've ever seen in all history.
He's having to use the brakes an awful lot.
Well, the brakes must be red hot, and hopefully they are just holding off. He did clip the grass slightly, but I think the tyres are starting to grain slightly. Martin Brundle in his Ligier just comes out of the pits. And Schumacher flies past Damon Hill's Williams again.
Race order, Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Rubens Barrichello.
This has truly been a wunderbar performance from Michael Schumacher here this afternoon.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
In the land of beer, chocolate and waffles, and of course also, as it has been since 1929, Grand Prix motor racing. And even though the weather conditions could have been better this weekend, they have still provided a very entertaining and a quite eventful race, as always,
On acceleration there.
here on this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. And now Michael Schumacher is leading 3 minutes and 13 seconds. He's practically unbeatable here at this moment. He's the fastest man on the track. No one, and I mean no one, can honestly stop him right here, right now. Oh, no!
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. Race order: Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Rubens Barrichello.
Well, he just overshot the chicane there. I think he might have just aquaplaned. But a great recovery from Schumacher. There'll be a lot of dirt and mud on those tyres, I think, because of how wet the grass and gravel edge around the circuit has been for, once again, since the rain started falling initially in the first quarter of this afternoon's race. I mean, what? Well, he is braking hard there again. At least the brakes are still working. But they've only just need to be used, not as much as the tyres have. But I mean, it very rarely happens, Murray, but I'm completely lost for words, and I'm sure you'd be the same too.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. He's accelerating hard now.
Well, I honestly think, Murray, if you don't mind me saying, I think with this all-important race victory to Michael Schumacher, this has put him
in first place, Michael Schumacher. In second, Damon Hill. In third position, Mark Blundell. In fourth, Rubens Barrichello. Fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth position, Taki Inoue.
And now Rubens Barrichello has managed to overtake Jean-Christophe Pouliot. What a shame for the Frenchman. I thought we were going to see him on the podium today. But sadly, that's not to be. But we still have 3 British teams. And we were nearly heading for another British 1, 2, 3 like we had at the Canadian Grand Prix. But then again, like I said, Michael Schumacher isn't British. We can once again clarify that he is, in fact, German. But I think most of you viewers already knew that.
He really loves these kind of conditions.
Well, I honestly didn't think he was going to excel in these conditions this afternoon, Murray, but I mean, what else can you say about the way that Schumacher has been so almost lightning fast in pace, and he's got the car. Man and machine have just worked in perfect harmony.
Order. In first place, Michael Schumacher. Second, Damon Hill. In third, Mark Blundell. In fourth place, Rubens Barrichello. In fifth position, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
And Taki Inoue is still holding on to a precious, valuable championship point for the Footwork Hart team. They've worked seriously hard to get there. Schumacher, and on the topic of a footwork, he's now behind. I think that was Max Parpis there in the other Footwork Hart.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
As we head into the final 5 laps. Of this afternoon's 1995 Belgian Grand Prix, here from Spa-Francorchamps. And it looks like the clouds are starting to clear, but it's still fairly misty and there's quite a lot of low cloud, but the rain has been long gone now, but there's still a lot of wet, of course, patches on the track, especially on the racing line, but there is definitely a dry line starting to appear.
Michael Schumacher, Damon Hill, Mark Blundell, Rubens Barrichello.
Schumacher passes Jean Alesi's Ferrari once more. I mean, this is...
To be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
I honestly have to say, Murray, in all of the races that I've commentated alongside with you here on Grand Prix Formula 1, I have never seen anything like this kind of race that I am seeing as of this afternoon. I have never seen dominance on this scale in the sport like no other. This is... You honestly think it's now just become a completely different sort of reality here. And you honestly wouldn't expect this in real life, bar none. We now once again ride on board with Schumacher down the Kemmel Straight, nearly up to 180 miles an hour.
Order. The race leader, Michael Schumacher. In second place, Damon Hill. Third, Mark Blundell. In fourth position, Rubens Barrichello. In fifth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue. It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good, and he is that.
Schumacher once again approaches Blanchimont for, I think, the 41st time as we reach the...
Half of acceleration there.
The final 3 laps of this afternoon's Belgian Grand Prix of 1995 here from Spa-Francorchamps.
This is the next to last lap.
As we now head to the penultimate lap.
It's not enough to be lucky, you've got to be good. And he is that. Race order. First, Michael Schumacher in second position. Damon Hill in third. Mark Blundell. Fourth, Rubens Barrichello. In fifth place, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
Well, as Schumacher is about to start his final lap around the Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps, this has been once again one of the most dominant drives. Once again, as he started from 8th, and then once again to remind you, he unexpectedly went into neutral gear and nearly stalled the car, and then he dropped down up from 18th, but he literally has fought his way through the opposition and the field despite these very wet conditions here at Spa. And I think this will be a quite remarkable race victory to look back upon for years to come for the young German. And this has really put him back in this year's Drivers' Championship title hunt.
They're really right on the edge, pushing it to the limit all the time. Only one more lap to go.
Well, this has been more than a standout performance.
Michael Schumacher, second. Damon Hill. In third position, Mark Blundell. In fourth place, Rubens Barrichello. Fifth, Jean-Christophe Pouliot. In sixth, Taki Inoue.
This has literally been a performance for the ages that we have never ever seen. And I hope that with this victory, Michael Schumacher is definitely back in it as the current World Drivers' Championship champion of Formula One from last year in 1994. Benetton Renault have literally been quite the bombastic performers and team that no one else could have even got near to this afternoon. Schumacher goes through Blanchimont for the final time, past Mark Blundell's McLaren Mercedes as he goes into the bus stop chicane for the final time.
Buckets of adrenaline in that car.
And here he comes! To make up for the home race victory, missing out in Germany and Hockenheim, Michael Schumacher wins the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix!
He crosses the line to euphoric applause.
It's a win for Michael Schumacher. That's a great result for the Benetton team. He's the fastest man on the track. He's in a class of his own. Can anyone beat this man? This'll really help the team in this year's Constructors' Championship.
Well, Murray, if there was any statement that he wanted to prove and also show as of this race weekend, he has done it in one of the most unbelievable ways possible. that I think has never ever been achieved in the whole history of Formula One. What an unbelievable third race victory for the German Michael Schumacher. And once again, as we've said already, he had come from an unexpected, of course, gearbox issue right from the beginning. And once again, when in the most, of course, unexpected and quite appalling conditions in any Grand Prix race we've had so far in this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship. He has proven that he is still the best and still number one as the current Drivers' World Champion of 1994. Once again, to clarify, Germany's Michael Schumacher in his Benetton Renault wins once again the 11th round of the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula One World Championship and the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix here from Spa-Francorchamps. Absolutely indescribable. Oh my God. Well, everybody, I think this is quite the exception on any edition of Grand Prix Formula One. I have never been at a loss of words quite like this. But there you go, everybody. With that being said, that concludes extended race highlights of round 11 of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula One World Championship and once again the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix from the Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps. An unbelievable and ruthless, dominant, I am struggling to think of superlatives right now just to describe that performance from Germany's Michael Schumacher there for the Benetton Renault team. That was simply indescribable. What an unbelievable and, as I said, I mean, outlandish performance in a good way from, of course, the young German and, of course, current world champion, Formula One world champion of 1994, as he takes his third race victory of the year and of this Reimagined 95 F1 season, and despite, of course, the unpredictable and very wet conditions at the Spa-Francorchamps circuit from earlier on this afternoon, they didn't stop Michael in the slightest. And even though that we did actually see quite the shock surprise of seeing him ending up spinning out on the curbs and touching an Armco barrier, and also being stuck in neutral gear. He was struggling with his gearbox. Luckily he didn't stall the car, and he lost his initial grid position of 8th place, and he went down almost down to, I think, 17th. I mean, that was just incredible. The the perseverance he had to go through the pack while they were struggling out, also in the very wet conditions as the rain got more, of course, heavier as the race went on. It was just insane. And as I've said before, I mean, this is actually the first time I think in the series that I cannot only say anything else but that. But another incredible performance once again from Michael Schumacher there, taking once again his third race victory, and of course once again him with that all-important race victory that has put him right back in it in the Drivers' Championship, which we will get to very, very shortly, as well as the full race results. An unbelievable, well-deserved second place for Damon Hill there in his Williams Renault. That's nice to see that he's back on the podium again. I think since oh my goodness me, I think the last time that we saw him on the podium, I think was back at the I think it was the San Marino Grand Prix when he actually won, but I could be wrong. But I mean, just to try and keep up with all of these unexpected results, as it's just been absolutely insane, and it's been quite difficult. I mean, it's literally been making my brain swell, like, you know, and it's made it really uncomfortable just to even computate with what's been happening. But once again, as we saw, another impressive, once again, third podium finish for Mark Blundell, and that's his 6th consecutive podium finish so far this year. That is absolutely insane. He is being the more stronger driver than Mika Hakkinen at the moment, and I can't believe that he is once again got a back-to-back third podium finish, finish on the podium in 2 races. That was absolutely amazing. And with also that being said, of course, as I am currently still looking at my phone, I have got all of the official race, of course, classification of the top 10. And after, once again, 44 laps, Michael Schumacher effortlessly and quite dominantly wins the race with a total race time of 1 hour 40 minutes and 19 seconds, 0.769 hundredths of a second. And another incredible dominant performance, almost, as I said, a new record, lapping the whole entire field almost about 5 or 6 times, or even more than that. I think that was even more what Damon Hill done, of course, at the San Marino Grand Prix back in Imola earlier on in the season. But that was absolutely insane that he led the Grand Prix by over 3 minutes, and that is a brand new record, I think, in the whole history of any Grand Prix race in the all history of Formula One. I mean, that is just it's indescribable to how to put that into words there right now, as I've said before, without sounding too repetitive. Once again, Damon Hill once again was behind and lapped by 1 lap, as well as third place in his McLaren Mercedes, that being Mark Blundell, also behind by 1 lap. And the other few drivers, another great points finish once again for Rubens Barrichello in his Jordan Peugeot, behind by 2 laps, as well as the Frenchman Jean-Christophe Bourgnon in his Red Bull Sauber Ford, who I initially thought could have actually got 4th place, but he was overtaken by Barrichello in the final few laps, and he nearly had a chance to be on the podium this afternoon as well, as we actually heard his name earlier on, and that was just disbelieving to even hear or even see happen from the race earlier on. But a great result once again, another consistent points finish for the Frenchman, as well as the Japanese driver Taki Inoue, for the first time in a few races, also managed to hold on for the last point in 6th place, and also finished behind by 2 laps, as well as his fellow Japanese countryman of Yukio Katayama in his Tyrrell Yamaha, who sadly missed out on the final point in 7th. But the Frenchman John Alesi in his Ferrari managed to stay in the top 10, and he only managed to finish 8th on behalf of his banned Austrian teammate, that being Gerhard Berger, and he finished behind by 3 laps, as well as the Briton Martin Brundle in his Ligier Mugen Honda, finishing in 9th place, also behind by 3 laps, and rounding up the top 10, unbelievably, is the Italian Luca Badoa in his Minardi Ford, who rounds off the top 10 and finished behind by 4 laps. And the fastest lap was set by lap time set by Michael Schumacher of 2 minutes 6 seconds 0.925 hundredths of a second. So with that being said, that has changed literally everything now as we now quickly go to the constructors and drivers point championship tables thus far, and with that all-important race victory for Michael Schumacher, that has literally, we have hit a turning point in the championship, because we honestly didn't think that after missing out on the points, and he's had the occasional few podium finishes, he is now right back in it, as of course we can clarify that right now. And after 11 rounds of this year's 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, Michael Schumacher has now regained the lead in the Drivers' Championship with 44 points, and now he leads by just 3 points over David Coulthard, who now drops to 2nd, and once again finishing out of the points in this particular race weekend, but he stays where he is points-wise with 41 points. And 3rd once again is Mark Blundell, as he continues his lead at the moment over Damon Hill, who's now moved up to 4th place, and it's only just 2 points between both of them, as Blundell has 34 points to Hill's 32. Johnny Herbert, who didn't finish in the points, the British teammate of Michael Schumacher for Benetton, stays in 5th place with 27 points, but Rubens Barrichello still moves up into 6th place and continues his, of course, his chance on hopefully trying to catch up with Johnny Herbert, and he is only just 3 points behind Johnny, once again in 6th place. John Alesi, even though he finished in 8th place, he still remains with in 7th place with 21 points. Gerhard Berger still remains his Austrian Ferrari teammate with 12 points. Jean-Christophe Bourlignon unbelievably moves back up into 9th place, and now he's made it to double figures from 9 points initially, and after finishing in 5th place, he now moves up with 11 points in 9th place. And once again, Olivier Panis now drops down back to 10th place, but he still remains at the moment with 9 points at the bottom of the top 10. And just out of the top 10, we also have seen that in 13th place, Taki Inoue manages to get an additional point, overtaking Eddie Irvine in 14th with 2 points. And also, once again, Ukyo Katayama manages to stay just ahead of Taki Inoue, just by 1 point with 4, in also 12th place also too. So, as you can see, it has really just changed in the blink of an eye, in just the space of 2 races. And if you thought that was bonkers enough, as we now move from the Drivers' Championship to the Constructors' Championship, and unbelievably, both Benetton Renault and Williams Renault are now tied for 1st place with both 67 points. So those all-important points there, the 2nd place to Damon Hill in his Williams, and that all-important race victory there for Michael Schumacher for the Benetton team. That has now meant that both teams, both Renault-powered, are both level after the 11 rounds of this championship, with only 6 races to go, and it is still anyone's championship. There is nothing between these two British manufacturers. And also, once again, McLaren, Mercedes also are still trying to keep up with them, as they still remain in 3rd place with 44 points, and they are now just 10 points ahead over Ferrari, who stay in 4th place with 33 points. And once again, they are still under threat from Jordan as they get a few more additional points. They had 23, but additional 3 from Rubens Barrichello's 4th place there in the race from earlier on this afternoon has made all the difference, but they still remain in 5th place once again with 26 points. Sauber Ford move up slightly with also their 2 points from Jean-Christophe Bourgnon in 5th place, and they have now got 17 points. But at the moment, Ligier Mugen Honda failed to score any points this afternoon and this race weekend, but they still remain in 7th place with 9 points. Till Yamaha also get 1 additional point. Well, not exactly my mistake, actually, because of Yuko Katayama. Correcting myself there, did finish in 7th place. But they nearly just missed out on it. But all thanks to Taki Inoue finishing in 6th place and securing that championship point for Footwork Karts. They still remain in 9th place, but they have moved up from 2 points to now 3 points. Well, there you go, everybody. Absolutely insane, to say the least, isn't it, everybody? But what an unbelievable edition of Grand Prix Formula 1 that we have had the absolute pleasure of bringing to all of you from the last few days or so. And once again, we would like to wish you, of course, and to all of our viewers, thank you so much for your utmost patience, as always, with this series. I know it's a little bit, of course, unexpected when this happens, but we do thoroughly appreciate your patience with us, because we literally have been working so hard to bring every edition of this Motorsport playthrough series to you all, and I know it didn't help from early on that we had problems with our camera equipment not pressing the record button, which actually that is the last time that happened, that was all the way back in my of course football vlog series from last summer, from last year during the summer, of course, and when England took part in the European Football Championship, and that being, of course, of the Euros, and in Germany. But it was a great fun to do the series, and especially as well as it's been a few weeks now since, of course, the incredible achievement for also the Lionesses becoming back-to-back European Women's Champions for the first time, equaling a record that previously was held by Germany back in 2013, and but it was an incredible run to the final. And also, as you may have seen in previous editions of this series, we also would like to recommend that you give a watch of Lionesses History Makers, with the remarkable, incredible journey that those 23 ladies, and not to mention, of course, make that 24, including the manager herself, as Serena Wiegmann, as she has set a new record of having 3 consecutive European Women's Football Championship final appearances, and also being champions for, of course, the titles for both the Netherlands, and a second one for England. And it was just an incredible achievement for her. And not to mention some of the remarkable talents of some of the players, the likes of the goalkeeper Hannah Hampton, and also the ice cold, now I think you could call her, Chloe Kelly, who scored the winning penalty in the final against the world women's champions of Spain. And it was incredible. But obviously slightly going off topic there, but don't forget, everybody, of course, that may be the end of another edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, but in just a few weeks' time you can join us as we move and stay in, of course, Europe, but we now head to the beautiful parts of in Europe, and that being of Italy. And we also head to the Temple of Speed itself, that is the Circuit di Monza in, of course, Italy for the 1995 Italian Grand Prix, and also sponsored by Pioneer, and that being also unbelievably the 66th Italian Grand Prix that's ever been done in history. And after the, of course, once again the ban there, which is now being, of course, now rid of course, Gerhard Berger, and once again not a points finish there, missing out sadly there for the Frenchman of John Alesi. Ferrari are hoping to try and recreate one incredible result, and the last time that Ferrari, of course, since it is their home racetrack, as well as Imola in San Marino, the last time that a 1-2 finish happened for Ferrari was back in the year of 1988, and this actually just happened not too long ago, since from the time when that happened, of the death of the team owner himself, that being Enzo Ferrari. And it was often remembered for the first win, and also the 1-2 finish for, of course, the Ferrari team after the death of Enzo Ferrari. And it was the only race of the 1988 season that was not won by McLaren, because how dominant they were with Honda-powered engines. It also was the only Grand Prix to also, with not a McLaren Honda driver on the podium, as well as Ferrari's most recent win at Monza, currently in the series, where we are depicting in the year of 1995. So, but the podium, unbelievably, there was of Gerhard Berger, who was driving for Ferrari at the time, along with fellow Italian, that being Michele Alboreto, and Eddie Cheever in his Megatron-powered Arrows took third. And unbelievably, even though that the late Ayrton Senna got pole position in his McLaren on that particular race, the fastest lap was also set by Michele Alboreto of 1 minute 29.070 on lap 44 out of the 51 lap race distance. But everybody, like I said, once again, that is really exciting, another exciting event to look forward to. And also, don't forget, there is loads more exciting sport coming up very soon in the next few weeks on Jackpot, Button Lewis, of course, Sport Productions. As we can also let you know that with the return of the Premier League, we will also be live from Stamford Bridge from later on this week, and make that also on this weekend on the 30th of August, as we'll be seeing the next London derby of the teams of Chelsea versus Liverpool. My apologies, sorry, Fulham, of course. No, I'm thinking of they, of course, are yet to play until in just a few weeks' time against Arsenal, but they are, of course, will be facing each other the week after that, to correct myself there, everybody. But it's still another exciting, of course, fixture to look forward to, as, of course, Chelsea being the current FIFA Club World Cup champions, as they beat the former champions and also current champions of the UEFA Champions League, that being the French club of Paris Saint-Germain. And that's very exciting to look forward to as well. And don't forget also, as well as club football, there's even international football to look forward to, as, of course, from the date, more specifically on the 6th of September, on the Saturday, the England senior men's football team recommence and also continue their campaign towards qualification to qualifying for next year's FIFA World Cup in, of course, North America, in a Pan-American, of course, countries of the United States, Canada, and also Mexico, as they take on the next country, that being of Andorra. And then, of course, they are going to be, of course, facing each other in a rematch. Of course, they're playing both home and away to when they last played, and they actually played at not at the official stadium of Andorra, but they still managed to get a a quite unfortunate, lackluster 1-0 win, but they still managed to do it. And you can also see that happen from 5 p.m. of course, with a kick-off of that happening, and them being an hour ahead, of course, from the previous game. And that will be also happening at Villa Park, where Aston Villa will also be playing against Crystal Palace, also as the current FA Cup and also FA Community Shield, of course, champions as of currently, after beating once again Man City in the FA Cup final, and also beating them as the Premier League champions also as well. So very exciting to look forward to in the next few weeks or so. So with that being said, we have now once again come to an end of another edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. Once again, the most dominant and most outrageous performance, in a good way of course, for Germany's Michael Schumacher. He has now taken his first race victory of this year's Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, and now he's taken the lead in the Drivers' Championship, and also there's still nothing in it between Benetton and also Williams in the Constructors' Championship. And of course, with the next race, of course, in just a few weeks' time, at once again the Autodromo Internazionale Circuito di Monza in, of course, Italy for the Italian Grand Prix. We can only think of another similar outcome, but it's going to be a lot more different next time out, because we can confirm that this could be possibly the last race on the calendar here at Belgium for wet weather races. But we are expecting some glorious sunshine and quite hot, of course, temperatures at also Italy for the next race, which is nice to see. So and also it's going to be very fast as well, the circuit, and but we know that the Tifosi are hoping for a decent result from the Ferrari team after the unfortunate lackluster performance they've had here, due to once again the disqualification of Gerhard Berger from earlier on as of this race weekend, and also a missing out on the points for the Frenchman of Jean Alesi. Well, anyway, with that being said, I just want to say that if you have once again enjoyed this edition of Grand Prix Formula 1, don't forget to give it a like and comment down below on the comment blocks below for your thoughts on what you thought of the race. And also, we would like to hear on your predictions of who is going to win the Reimagined 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as there's only 6 races to go in this championship. We've only got, as I said before, as to clarify, we've got the races of Italy, Portugal, also at Estoril. We've also got the European Grand Prix from the German circuit of the Nürburgring. Then we also will be heading to Far East Asia for 2 races at both the TI circuit AIDA for the Pacific Grand Prix, and then also the Japanese Grand Prix at the very popular Suzuka circuit. And then also we'll have the championship finale and decider. That is, of course, if it's going to be fairly close towards the end of this particular reimagined F1 season, with the once again the Australian Grand Prix, and for the final time also at the street circuit of Adelaide. But of course, we have still got a few more races to go until that happens, and that can all happen here once again here on the World Motorsport Playthrough Series. That is once again of Grand Prix Formula 1. So until next time, and in a few weeks' time, we'll see you for the next round, and round 12 of the 1995 Reimagined FIA Formula 1 World Championship, as we have the 1995 Pioneer 66 Italian Grand Prix from Monza. Thanks very much for watching, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time for the next round of the 1995 Reimagined Formula 1 season. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye. Are we done? Woo! There we go, everybody. Goodness me. I don't know what's happened with my throat today. I've actually just come back from earlier on this week of actually seeing another show in the West End. Yeah, I think it just closed not too long ago. It was 101 Dalmatians, the musical, featuring the current, the former winner of Britain's Got Talent, that's Cindy Christmas, playing Cruella de Vil. She was incredible. She really was. I am actually working on a review episode of Theatre Going Revival for that, but which is obviously different to this. But no, it was amazing. And also Jeff Brazier and Aston Marigold as well from JLS. They were absolutely amazing. I actually asked him to do a shout out for Radio Addenbrooke's as well. So I'm hoping to do that for the next few weeks as well while I'm there as well for my Pick and Mix radio show. So amazing. Well, what an unbelievable race, though. How on earth, with that dominance from Michael Schumacher, and now he's leading the championship. I know it's took a while, but it's made all the difference now. I hope he can get back in the championship. I know next time we'll be following Johnny Herbert because we'll be trying to recreate his win that he got at that race over 30 years ago. The question is, can we recreate it? Because we nearly we did something quite remarkable there with Schumacher in that race just earlier on. So, well, I think it can only get more and more bonkers and crazy from here on in. But anyway, well done everybody. That was another enjoyable edition of Grand Prix Formula 1. And once again, that concludes the 12th edition and also round 12 of the 1995 FIA Formula 1 World Championship with the 1995 Belgian Grand Prix from the Circuit De Spa-Francorchamps in Belgium. And cut. If you enjoyed this race here on Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, let me know on what you thought of the race by giving a like on this video and subscribing so you never miss out on future races with more exciting classic retro Grand Prix racing action. And also once again, let us know on your thoughts on the video by commenting down below in the, of course, comment box. And we look forward to seeing you for some more exciting, more future Grand Prix racing action, all here on Jackpot Button Lewis Productions, here on YouTube.